Welcome back on a Sunday. Back another edition of Prime Sports World. Welcome back in. I have a double dose of Prime Sports World here for you today. I'm David Humphrey. Right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. And I know NBA is kind of owning Sunday night with the Dallas Mavericks putting the hurting on the Phoenix Suns just a few minutes ago. We're going to be talking about them a little bit tomorrow. We're going to be previewing those conference finals games tomorrow night. So you don't want to miss that content before the games start on Tuesday. But today we're going to be talking about the National Football League because we love the National Football League at Prime Sports World. And if you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, also Twitch, Prime Sports World, pretty good place to hang out. We go live 6 or 7 times a week, bringing the most up-to-date content. I'm actually going to drop the link to our StreamYard link on all of those places. So if you guys want to join us and talk some football, I will drop that link and you guys can hang out with us and talk some sports. We always love to have somebody talk a little bit of NFL action with us here on a Sunday night. TJ, we kind of did the Bears schedule already.
Yes, sir.
You know, was it Friday or Thursday night? I think we did that show. Let's just
like that.
Overall, what did you think of the schedule before we get into like the strength of schedule? And then there's some marquee games on the schedule itself.
Like, you mean like everybody's schedule, or
just look at it in general? What did you think about, like, you know, what was some stuff you noticed about the schedule or anything that stood out?
It throws, like, because there's an odd number of games, like everybody's thrown off with having an odd amount of home games and away games. That was kind of like the beauty about a 16-game schedule.
Yeah. I think at some point it's going to be.
You're going to get 18.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, 100%. So at some point, it's for sure going to happen.
Yeah, because that odd number is off-putting. Like, 16-game schedule, you get 8 home, you get 8 away. Right? Or hope like that's how it should be. You know. I'm more so looking forward to like the new faces and old faces in new places thing. See how
Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
Russell Wilson.
I want to see how those crowds respond to those to the new guard coming in. Looking forward to seeing some rookies deal with NFL football. Like, don't get me wrong, like some of these rookies they're gonna be fine. Because sometimes the crowd in college football is more of a frenzy than in the pros, for sure.
That's true. Unless you're going into Buffalo or something like that.
I have all the faith in the world that a dude like Traylon Burks, who played in the SEC at Arkansas, all the stadiums he had to go to in SEC country is going to be fine. Jahan Dotson, who played in Happy Valley, Penn State, 100,000 screaming fans in white T-shirts.
I mean, he had to go to the big house on occasion. I mean, that's
right. Had to go to Michigan on occasion. Had to go to the Horseshoe in Ohio State on occasion and play in front of that crowd. But I'm looking forward to what should be Tom Brady's last season, and a bevy of other legends that we probably got to think about.
I don't know anymore with Tom Brady. I thought this was going to be the last season, but it doesn't appear that's going to be the case now. Who knows? But, he has to deal with Fox, so all he has to do is decide whenever he wants to actually retire, which doesn't seem like he actually wants to do that anytime soon.
I don't. I'm not. Again, you know how I feel about that. But I know for a fact, because the Rams won the Super Bowl, they have the hardest schedule.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that here in a second. So this is the strength of schedule ranked from 1 to 32. Rams and Cardinals and Bengals and Buccaneers and 49ers all have a top 5 most difficult schedule in the National Football League. Bottom 5, Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles, Giants, and Lions. Anything jump out with you? Just look at this overall list of, the strength of schedule for some of these teams.
Yeah, the Cowboys were a playoff team. The Packers were a playoff team. Who am I missing? The Titans were a playoff team. How are they not top 15?
Well, I mean, so let me see how the matchup the one. Hold on.
Now I get it. The Cowboys were they a divisional? They were a divisional knockout, right?
Correct.
All right.
But that has no impact on with the schedule because you play one division in the AFC and you play one division in the NFC, and then you play
But they base it off of where you finished where you
whatever standing
finished.
wherever standing you happen to be in.
Right. So they won their division.
Yeah. So
right?
they get to play the number 1 seed in the South and all that.
So that's to me that's weak. Like the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Packers, and the Titans should definitely have a tougher schedule than the Panthers.
Yeah, the Panthers have a poor Panthers. You have a trash team, and you have the 13th most difficult schedule in the National Football League this season.
They should have a tougher schedule than the Panthers, the Seahawks, the Falcons. Hell, even the Texans are top 20. All right, the Jets, like, come on, man. Like, these are, like, those are teams that won 5 games the year before. Like, how do they get a tougher schedule than the 4 teams that literally made the playoffs? That's trash to me. Like, that has to be, if I'm the NFL, I get the Cowboys or the NFC East plays the AFC South and some other bottom feed, the NFC North. Yeah, they play the AFC South and the NFC North, and the fact that they play the AFC South brings their difficulty down because that's just the Jags are the Jags, the Texans are the Texans, the Colts are hit or miss now, and the Titans are the toughest team in that division. All right, so because they won that division, that's trash. Like the Panthers, the Seahawks, the Steelers, and the Falcons have a tougher schedule. Like this Jerry. I don't know. Like I'm not one for conspiracy theories. Like I am if the conspiracy theory is fun, but does the NFL want Dallas to be good that bad that they got to give them the easiest schedule?
Yeah, it's certainly interesting the way that this schedule broke down. You'd think they would have a more difficult schedule because they won their division, but it doesn't appear that's the case with this schedule. Like it just doesn't. I don't. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No, at all. Like I don't. Like okay, the Bears. Yes, I understand 100%. The Ravens, everything fell apart. Yes, I understand that. The Lions won 1 game last season, right? Washington, I get. The Giants, absolutely. Like, those are the teams that should be the teams with the easiest schedule. Like, you can't tell me the Broncos, who won 6 games last season, should have a tougher schedule.
Well, I mean, the downside, because they have to play the division that they have to play, right? So they have to play, the Chargers and.
Well, like, okay, now I get that part. Like, their division's tough, right? They have a tough division. So, that notwithstanding, like, if you play in a tough division, then that's something you can't help, right? Like, that's literally something you can't help, right? Like, that's also part of the reason why the Packers have one of the easiest divisions because the other 3 teams in the NFC North just can't keep up, and they really only have to worry about one.
I mean, the Vikings, basically.
And that's Minnesota, right? So, again, the Rams expected, right? They made the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. The Bengals, to me, should have a harder schedule than the Cardinals because the Rams are the team that just demolished the Cardinals, right? The Bengals made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, like, those 2 teams should easily, off rip, have the 2 hardest schedules out the gate because they made it to the ultimate game. So that's who it should be. Then the 49ers have no issue with them being at 5. You made it to the NFC Championship. The Buccaneers, they literally redid their schedule when they found out Tom Brady was coming back. I swear to God they did. They literally redid the Buccaneers schedule the minute Tom Brady said, I'm unretiring and I'm coming back. They had to find a way to get Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back on Fox as much as possible.
You're probably right. They probably were like, hey, like Tom Brady's back. We probably got to put him on prime time constantly. Because if this is his last season, we basically have to make sure that he's on TV all the time.
Like there's going to be so many Tampa Bay Buccaneers NFL Game of the Week on Fox. You're going to get sick of seeing them. And
Yeah,
I think what's also,
I think the Cowboys thing is wild to me. I mean, this is a team that won the division. I wasn't able to pull up like how the division breakdowns are going this season. I probably should have done that before the show, but I forgot. But like the fact that they have the weakest strength of schedule is just baffling to me. I know they play in a pretty bad division, but I mean the Eagles made the playoffs last season. I mean, there's 2 playoff teams in their own division alone, and I believe they played this in the NFC North, and that's got the Packers. I mean, the Vikings were a couple plays here and there for making the playoffs. It's just convenient, the fact that they always seem to have a cupcake schedule like every year. It just seems awfully convenient all the time. Like, it's just all right. And feel bad for the poor Panthers here, who have a very difficult schedule with like no certainty at their quarterback position, who we don't even know. Like Sam Howell doesn't eat steak, so you know.
like Sam Darnold, you don't know what's going to happen with him. Cam Newton still waiting. Cam Newton still like, hey, am I coming back?
I don't think he is at this point.
What do you do with Christian McCaffrey? You know, like it's
I don't know.
It's a lot going on in that. Like, so yeah. I said something. The Chiefs. I get that you're tough because you play in because of your division.
Yep.
Same thing with the Raiders. The Saints, I guarantee you, everybody in the NFC South, their schedule just got harder because Tom Brady came back. That's literally it. I swear to God, that's it.
Well, I mean, this is the winning percentage of the team. Their schedule, they were going to be playing the same opponents no matter what. Like, it didn't have anything to do with, like, who Tom Brady coming back. Like, this is no, it's not. It doesn't. It has nothing to do with it. The winning percentages. The winning percentages of the teams on their schedule of last season.
I get that, but you sitting here telling me that the Chiefs. I mean, not the Chiefs. Everybody in the NFC South, their schedule didn't get harder because Tom Brady didn't come back.
Sure. I'm sure. I mean,
that's what I'm getting at.
I mean, a couple months ago, they wouldn't have had to play Tom Brady twice a year. Now,
their schedule would have been slightly easier because that's 2 games. You don't have to worry about Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, anytime the quote unquote GOAT isn't going to be suiting up like on the other side of the field, you call that a win.
Like same thing with Seattle. It's your division is just a gauntlet, right? Like Cardinals, Rams, 49ers twice a year. That's an ass whooping. Same thing with the Steelers.
They put 3 teams in the playoffs last season. So
same thing with the Steelers, Browns, Ravens, Cincinnati. I'm so disrespectful. Buffalo, New England. That's it. Division.
Miami. I don't know.
Well, hey, no. Until Miami actually plays, I ain't too worried about it. You know,
I probably agree with you on that, on the Miami thing. Until I see Tua on the field be productive, because I haven't really seen that yet. I've seen him be productive in spurts, and I've also seen him get benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick a lot last season, 2 years ago. So 2
years ago.
Yeah.
He also was still dealing with the hip issue, but I don't know. Like I'm more so looking forward to the matchups and the narratives and the storylines going into some of these games. Like let's
switch gears. Actually, let's talk about that. So let's look into some of the notable matchups when it comes to this season. I picked a few. If you can think of any other ones that kind of jump out of the page at you. So first we got the Broncos Seahawks. Let me just go through these one by one. Broncos Seahawks in week number 1. Obviously, this is a big one because it's Russell Wilson returning to Seattle, the place where he spent a decade, won a Super Bowl for that team. Probably should have won another if it wasn't for Pete Carroll. What do we think about that game in week 1? I think it's interesting that they put that game in week number 1. It's just like, of course they did, right?
Because of course they did. Like, what do I think about that? Like, I feel like the minute they announced the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos, and they say starting their quarterback for the Denver Broncos, number 3, Russell Wilson, everybody in Seattle better stand up and give that man a standing ovation.
I think they will. I think his his return is going to be special. Like, because he didn't really ever ask to be traded. Like, he never came out and verbally said, "Hey, I don't want to be here anymore. Please trade me away." Like, it was just kind of like Seattle were like, "Yeah, we're not good, so we're
Like
gonna start over."
I bet not hear one boo. I bet not see one jersey burn. I bet not see none of that. That man gave you his heart and his soul for 10 years, and all he asked in return was for his hard work to be reciprocated and getting him an O-line and getting him some weapons so he can continue to bring success to that franchise.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
instead, they drafted like shit for 5 years.
for
They never,
5 years.
they never addressed their offensive line. They basically let the defense fall apart and never replaced any of it. Like, you know,
Another interesting matchup involving the same Seahawks is whenever the Rams go up to Seattle, because that's Bobby Wagner's return to Seattle.
yeah. Let me take a see if I can find that on the schedule, real quick. I did not put, because he says he wants his revenge. So
yeah, like again, guy gave his heart and soul. That is weak. That's the last game of the season.
It's Sunday, December 4th. It's not the last. Oh yeah, last game of the season. Yeah, so the final game of the season where the Rams go into Seattle to take on the Seattle Seahawks.
That man gave you his heart and his soul, and you repay him. Like, you didn't even give him the courtesy to bring him into the office to let him know. He found out on social media like the rest of us did.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's probably he's a Hall of Famer.
He's a whole how shitty of an organization do you have to be like one of the peers, one of the top tier guys of my organization? No, I'm not gonna give him the courtesy of letting him know he's getting cut. I'm just gonna cut him, and he's gonna find out on social media like the rest of us. That week 3 matchup, that Packers Buccaneers matchup. So like, hey man. It
could be the last time Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers we ever see that again in the National Football League. Week number 3, Packers.
If I'm Aaron Rodgers, like, man, I'm like, hey man, before either one of us go there, he gotta say, I gotta get him once, man. I gotta get him at least once, man. He has not beaten Tom Brady since Tom Brady's been in Tampa Bay. Has not beaten him.
Oh,
right? Like, you had the one game where the Packers went to Tampa, and we saw Aaron Rodgers throw like 2 pick sixes in a row, which we were like, what? That was a thing.
And then they lost in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago.
NFC Championship, yep. And yeah, so we were kind of looking forward to them meeting up again in the playoffs, but Green Bay lost to San Francisco. And yeah, all that other good stuff.
And Tampa Bay got bounced by the Rams.
By the Rams, yeah. Commanders at Eagles. Carson Wentz goes back to Philly for the first time since he was.
Well, don't skip over the Chiefs Buccaneers at week number 4.
Oh, I did. My bad.
We got the Super Bowl rematch.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You like Packers at Buccaneers, Chiefs at Buccaneers, all the big, and the Ravens play the Buccaneers too. At home. All the Buccaneers so-called big games, they're all in Tampa Bay.
Of course they are.
Like, that is insane. So the Rams play them November 6th. That's in Tampa. The Rams go back to Tampa Bay again and play them. Let's see, what else? We already said Green Bay. We already said KC.
Yeah.
The Ravens go there. Seattle. Well, that's not a big game anymore. I'm
surprised the Ravens are on their schedule. The Ravens did win their division last year. They shouldn't. That's interesting.
Yeah, and like one of their big road games is Tampa goes to San Francisco, and that's a big game because Tom Brady still feels slighted by the Shanahans. Like, yo, you had the chance to come get me.
Yeah.
And you didn't. Right? Like, you had the chance to come rock with your boy, and you didn't.
And I mean, outside of the Chiefs, Commanders, Eagles, you had the opportunity for Carson Wentz to go back to Philadelphia, play his former team, and kind of show like, hey, you shouldn't have given up on me. I could still play.
And Tampa Bay also goes to Cleveland, and this is November 27th. So Deshaun Watson may or may not be back by this point.
Well, I mean, they haven't announced anything about Deshaun Watson, so at this point, I'm going to assume that they're not suspending him.
And they only have 2 preseason games. Like, I'm looking right at it. Tampa only has 2 preseason games. Unless they play, like, the Hall of Fame game or something. I don't know.
But and then moving on from the Commanders-Eagles, we got the Cowboys Packers in week number 10. Cowboys go to Lambeau. You know, it's always a big matchup when you got the Cowboys and Packers, 2 of the marquee franchises in the National Football League going at it. You know, always piques the interest. Saints-Cardinals. You have the Saints who have retooled their defense and retooled their offense. Rams-Chargers, by the way, battle for SoFi Stadium. These are the first time that these teams have met since they've both relocated to Los Angeles. Should be interesting to see what kind of, because this is a Chargers game at Chargers. So let's see what kind of split is the fan base is there with the the Chargers.
We already know it's going to be 80-20 Rams.
Like I think depending on how good the Chargers are this season, I think that could be a little bit of a shift.
I don't think so. It's like the Yankees and the Mets, bro. Like no matter what the Mets do, they're never gonna top the Yankees. Well, no matter what the Clippers do, they're never gonna top the Lakers. No matter what the Chargers do, they're never gonna top the Rams.
I don't know, man. I mean, they got Justin Herbert. He's a generational type talent. I mean,
you got Justin Herbert. That's fine. That is okay. But you ain't the Rams.
I mean, Matthew Stafford's not going to play there forever, and they don't really have
the worst thing that the Chargers probably did for their organization is go to LA. And I'm so serious. Like they had.
I don't necessarily agree with that because. They had in the San Diego, like the ownership group didn't want to build a new stadium, so they had to go somewhere.
At least the fans in San Diego were there.
Yeah, but I think that stadium never sold out. It was a pretty. That wasn't. I mean, San Diego's not a great fan base. Like, let's be real. And then I mean, I have a buddy of mine who's a San Diego Chargers fan. He's like, yeah, they're, nobody really shows up unless the team is winning. Which is, I guess, a lot of fan bases.
That's a lot of fan bases. What you mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The Saints and Cardinals. This is week number 7. Oh, I remember why I put this on the list. So this is the game that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be eligible returning. Because he's going to miss the first 6 games of the season. This will be the first game that DeAndre Hopkins will be back on the football field. And the Saints have done a really nice job retooling this offense and defense with very little cap space to work with. The OBJ is now being leaked to this team because they signed Jarvis Landry yesterday or the day before.
And Tyrann Mathieu.
That can just be, another LSU there. Browns, Dolphins. You got Deshaun Watson going against Tua. Kind of a rematch of, college matchup.
You said Browns had Dolphins. Did they play each other in college? Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Did they?
Well, so I think I don't remember. I think actually Jalen Hurts was still the quarterback of that team at that time.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think Tua was playing yet.
Well, because Tua came and rescued that one. Yeah.
Like the 2 years they went back to back, right? Like 1 year it was like the 2 years they both played each other in the national championship and they split.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Jalen Hurts both years, I believe.
I think Tua was the quarterback on the second year when Trevor Lawrence ran him out of the building.
But we're strictly talking Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. I know. But the Dolphins have a different dynamic now. They have Tyreek Hill. I mean, let's see what Tua's going to look like.
And that Bengals at Patriots. So that's joke. Well, Steelers, Dolphins. That's money making Mitch, baby making Mitch now. Yeah. Baby making Mitch, and that's a. Why'd you put that one on? Steelers at Dolphins.
Hold on 1 second.
Wait, what's his name?
Is it? I don't remember why I put that on the list though.
No, who's what's his name? The guy who used to coach the Dolphins. Oh my God.
Brian Flores.
Yeah, isn't he on the Steelers coaching staff now?
I think so. Yeah, that's why I have it on the list. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that makes sense. Bengals, Patriots. That's two young. That's two young guns. That's Matt Jones, Joe Burrow.
Yep. And
Bills have
Joe Burrow was kind of being compared to Tom Brady. So at least through his first 3 years of his career, and then you got Bills Rams week 1, could be a pre-Super Bowl matchup.
Super Bowl matchup preview. Yeah.
Bills at
Chargers,
Rams.
Chiefs. Man, they get the division cracking early. Chargers.
Well, I mean, this is the first big test for a reloaded Chargers team. I mean, are you going to be there for real? Are you there for real? Are you going to be giving the Chiefs the run for their money? This is the Los Angeles Chargers team that retooled in the offseason. They added all their weapons on the defensive side of the ball: Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson. But will the offense be good?
You also got to keep in mind this was Justin Herbert's first start, right? Like he got thrown into the fires. Like
That's true.
Against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he almost won that game.
Yeah, I mean, because he played awesome in that game. Yeah, that's the game where Tyrod Taylor he got the blood clot,
punctured lung. Punctured lung.
Yeah, when he was trying to get the injection for what was it, cortisone or something,
like a cortisone shot, something like that.
Yeah, and then they got the Patriots Raiders. That's on the list because of Josh McDaniels going up against Bill Belichick for the first time.
Yeah, because I don't remember him playing. I don't remember him playing him when he was coaching.
They may have, but just since he became the head coach of the Raiders, so going up against the disciple, going up against the mentor.
Yeah, can this truly be a student surpass teacher?
Yeah, because as we well documented, the Bill Belichick coach.
Assistants don't do well.
They haven't done. Mike Vrabel's like the only exception.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel's the exception.
And he was not an assistant under Bill Belichick. He just played for Bill Belichick.
Right? Like, ain't that crazy? Yeah. And Packers Bills. That's just Josh Allen.
Old guard versus new guard.
And I don't want no Packer fans say that's a Super Bowl matchup. No, it's not.
No,
it is not. Absolutely not.
One of those teams will be in the Super Bowl.
One of those teams.
And it's not the team the Packer fans want it to be. I'm sure of it. Because it's just not.
No, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Some other ones. We got the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans on December 4th. As long as Deshaun Watson doesn't get suspended, this will be Deshaun Watson getting his return to Houston. I wonder what his reception will be like when he gets back.
I would say it has to be. To me, it would have to be a bag of mixed emotions. Like internally, he has to feel good because he's doing what he loves to do. He's playing football, right? Externally, I kind of feel like he's going to be met with some boos and some cheers because, again, you can't gloss over what he went through or what he's still going through, right? This ain't over, right? This is 22 civil lawsuits, and you can't say as a league, you can't say you want the support of women and whatnot if you don't do anything to show why they should give you their support, right?
Yeah, I agree. And also, I mean, let's be frank here. Deshaun Watson didn't really do anything in Houston. Like,
nah.
I realize that he didn't. He went to the playoffs a few times, but like actually winning anything, no, he didn't win anything there. Like, I actually think his reception will be mostly negative. I think the Houston Texans fans are just they're. I think most of them are probably happy he's gone.
And yeah, it's I'm like, it's like no matter how you slice it, it's an uncomfortable subject. But you have to have that conversation. Like, you got to talk about it, right? No matter how you slice it, Deshaun Watson, like you brought it up, like they haven't said anything about it. Mm-hmm. I honestly think they're waiting for this thing to get done. And if I'm the NFL, clock's ticking. I'm not gonna wait. for
Yeah,
you. Like I have to
if I was the NFL, I would have suspended him for 4 games. I would have just done something preliminary. So just so
right,
you can
I have
just for
to
a PR stance, like, hey,
right,
like we can't allow you just to go scot free and make a bunch of money in the national, like just without any repercussions on this at all. Like there are still civil cases here. There's still victim impact panels that like. This stuff may have happened. Like, just they couldn't find enough evidence to formally charge him with, because the
criminal
stats,
stuff.
like
Yeah.
the burden of proof on a defense attorney, on the state attorney, is much higher in a criminal case than it is in a civil case. Like he'd probably have to pay a bunch of money in the civil cases. Like it's just the way it goes. And so
And
the NFL
again,
should do well and suspend him. Just like, hey, we're just going to suspend you for 4 games.
four, six,
We have to.
whatever. We have to. Right.
Yeah.
And he missed a year last season. Yeah, that was
He got paid that entire time.
and that was the organization's doing. Like the NFL didn't step in and now point. Like he was never on the commissioner's list, exempt list. He was never on that.
Yeah, and he never got suspended. They still paid him the entire year, even though he didn't play a single game. So
again, I just want, especially like I just want fans in general, male, female. It shouldn't matter. You should not hate Michael Vick for what he did more than what you should hate Deshaun Watson for. Like dogfighting, like don't get me wrong, dogfighting is just awful.
Yeah.
Right, and I still think that Michael Vick had nothing to do with that. It just happened. It happened at his house. And if I have a chance to arrest your less famous brother or arrest you, I'm gonna arrest you, and I'm gonna pin everything on you. You're the bigger name in here. I don't care about Marcus Vick and his circle of people that run that dogfighting circle. I'm going after you because it happened on your property and you let it happen. You cannot sit like Michael Vick still gets hate to this day.
And Michael Vick, I don't really want to talk about this for too much longer, but Michael Vick really became a better person after he went to prison. Like he really gave back to the community. He gave back to the dog community. He served his time. Deshaun Watson is just straight avoiding this entire thing. Like he's not owning up to any of it. Like Michael Vick owned up to it. He took a responsibility for his actions, and he made things better. Like he's become a stand-up human being now. Some of the other games that I think are interesting is Colts Texans September 11th. Why do you think that's on the list?
Colts Texans.
This is week 1.
Colts. Why is that on the schedule? Why are you finding that interesting?
Well, it's Matt Ryan's first game as a Colt.
Well,
after spending
like what 14 years in
14
Atlanta?
years in Atlanta, his first game as a member of the Indianapolis Colts will be against the Houston Texans on September 11th.
I got another one. Week 2, Cardinals Raiders. So that's an interesting matchup to me. All right, Kyler Murray, David Carr, Devontae.
I feel like that matchup would be a lot more interesting if DeAndre Hopkins could play in it, but
I mean, week 1, this might be better. You got Raiders Chargers. That's week 1. Is that week 1? Did you have that on here?
No. I don't have that on the list. I'm going pulling off another website. Also, October 16th, Bills Chiefs. Rematch of that epic game. Rematch from the overtime thriller during last season's AFC playoff game. That should be a barn burner on October 16th. Commanders Colts. Basically, the Colts gave up on Carson Wentz after 1 season. Gives Carson Wentz a chance to have a little bit of revenge there in Indianapolis.
And then week 4, you got Broncos Raiders. Is that Russ's first in division opponent for the Broncos? Yeah, because week 3 he plays San Francisco. That's a good one.
Yeah. And
week 2 he plays Houston. So yeah, week 4 his first AFC West opponent is the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's the 3:30 game. That's a good game.
Buccaneers Seahawks Buccaneers December 13th. This game is notable because of the first game ever in Germany. As the NFL tries to continue to globalize international appeal. First game in Germany, November 13th in Munich, Germany.
That's gonna be fun to watch. I've always found it interesting to watch like international fans especially when we go to when the NFL goes to London Like, it's always curious as to see how the game is responded to. Like, do they like it? Is it, because I feel like no matter what we do, I don't think the NFL is ever going to top soccer
Oh, of course not.
in
I mean,
Europe.
soccer is still the most popular sport in the United States, even potentially in the United States, but in the world for
No,
sure.
I ain't going to soccer's not that popular over here. I'm not going that
I
far.
mean, I
But
know a bunch of people that are big time soccer fans.
and
People I work with.
but I guarantee if you poll 100 people and you ask them what's your favorite sport, like
Yeah,
how big
true.
of a margin do you think? How big of a margin do you think the NFL is going to have?
It would be immense.
Like, and that's including baseball and the NBA,
And hockey.
right? And hockey.
I still think hockey would pull better numbers than. Yeah.
So, you already said week 6. That's Bills Chiefs. That's the rematch. Nope. Week 7. Anything interesting in week 7? No, not really.
I mean, it's Saints Cardinals. It's the DeAndre Hopkins suspension being lifted. Steelers Dolphins. Brian Flores could be facing his former team.
This one's a little personal for me as a fan. Week 8, we go to Dallas. Chicago goes to Dallas, and historically, the last time we played the Cowboys in Dallas, I think that was like the game Lance Briggs got a fumble recovery. He broke like 5 tackles, and he just ran roughshod over everybody and scored. Like, yeah, that was crazy. The last time
isn't the last time we played Dallas was that Nick Foles game, where he came in and we stole that game from them.
No, the last time we played Dallas in Chicago, Mitch Trubisky reminded us why we drafted him 2nd overall. Mitch Trubisky had the game of his one of the many games of his life, quote unquote, in Chicago that night. And yeah, like that was a Trubisky, like, hey, that's why we got him. I think. Yeah, some of these storylines is interesting. Like Cowboys Packers, but back to the Bears Cowboys game in week 8. So week 8, that's what used to be the halfway point of the NFL season. You're 8 weeks in. That's 2 months. So by that time, the picture should start to be getting shaped.
Yeah, right? Like at that point we should know who the competitors are, and who the upper echelon of the Eastern and AFC and NFC are at that point.
So on who could be a dark horse, that kind of conversation. That's when that talk should begin. And we already know that the Bears are not going to be contending for much of anything, right? Like as a fan, let's be realistic, right? You just want to see growth and better play out of Justin Fields, and you want to see some of the younger guys step up and same thing, growth, develop, all that good stuff. Dallas, on the other hand, you cannot sit here and tell Jerry Jones and Cowboys fans that they don't have a shot at anything, because every year you hear Cowboy fans, we're gonna win it next year, right?
Yeah.
We like they could go 0-16, 0-17 now. We're gonna win it next year, right? Like how, bro? Like how?
Well, it's because they like to spend money in Dallas, so the team's always going to be loaded with big names and big time talent and stars.
But some of the storylines to look forward to with Dallas is what's going to happen with Mike McCarthy. He has allegedly there are 2 successors on his coaching staff. So Mike McCarthy gets fired. There's 2 ways Jerry Jones could go with this. He could hire Dan Quinn, or he could hire Kellen Moore.
Boy wonder.
You pay Zeke Elliott a bunch of money, but the problem with that is you haven't really invested in your offensive line like you should have.
Even when you do a bad job of it.
You paid Dak a bunch of money, but the problem is you haven't invested in your offensive line like you should have. You also let weapons go that you probably shouldn't have let go. Now, the Amari Cooper thing, I get that's a sensitive subject for some Cowboy fans. 1 week he's there, 2 weeks he disappears. Like he could have 8 for 150 and 2 touchdowns 1 week, and then he could go 2 weeks and have 150 yards combined in both games. So he could just completely disappear. Right? The defense, you let what's his name? You let Randy Gregory walk.
Yep. They basically, because of some language in in all of Dallas Cowboy contracts, some language in there cost them a guy.
Some language in his contract didn't match the language in some of the other guys' contracts, and he's like, that's BS. We should all have the same language in our contract. And they're like, well, you're a problem. You're a problem child. The other guys aren't. That's not the point.
No, over the last 2 years, Randy Gregory's been pretty straight and narrow. Like, he's been on a pretty good trajectory. That's the kind of guy you want to keep. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Exactly. So now if I'm Dan Quinn, like that, in a way that kind of helps.
And they didn't replace him. Like, I think they're expecting Parsons to make a giant leap from this season to last season.
But that's also, that kind of also hurts Michael Parsons' versatility in a way, because when last season, like, you could have DeMarcus Lawrence on one side, Randy Gregory on the other side, and you could drop Michael Parsons into a linebacker spot. Now you're asking Michael Parsons to just be an edge rusher.
Yeah, you're basically taking away some of your versatility on your defensive side of the football. Any other matchups that jump out to you before we wrap up here today's show and preview a little bit what we're going to be doing tomorrow?
Monday Night Football, Week 8, Bengals Browns. All right, even with the terrible quarterback play that Cleveland has had over the years, they always manage to make that game tough. I don't think it's going to be that way.
The last 2 years, those were straight up barn burners. I think the combined total points over the 2 games was like in the hundreds.
Yeah, the one play, I think it was in Cincinnati. The one game, it came down to like a final throw. Baker Mayfield hit Donovan Peoples-Jones for like what was the game-winning touchdown. Also, that's like Week 8. So again, with the Deshaun Watson cloud, that's either going to be a good game, like a hell of a quarterback duel, or it's just going to be Joe Burrow and the other.
Yeah, I told you. It's going to be interesting to see like those two divisions in the AFC, like the West and the North, and to a lesser extent the NFC West. Like those 3 divisions, just watching them beat each other up for the entire season, and like who's eventually going to emerge, because only at most 3 teams out of those 2 divisions, like only 2 of those teams are probably going to make the playoffs out of each of those divisions, and it'll be interesting to see which teams it is, because it's just going to be an interesting dynamic, because both of those divisions are loaded. Both of them deserve to win and go to the Super Bowl and go to the playoffs for sure, right? The Steelers should be better. We expect better quarterback play out of Trubisky than whatever was left of Big Ben last season, even though they almost made the playoffs too.
And, some of the holiday games, you got Thanksgiving, you got Bills at Lions.
The Steelers did make the playoffs last year, didn't they?
Yeah, they were. They got eliminated by KC.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did.
You got Bills, Lions on Thanksgiving. You got Giants, Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and you got Patriots at Vikings on Thanksgiving. That one's going to be. I think that was going to be entertaining. The other 2, I don't know. The NFL, like, bro, it's been 102 years now. Strike a new deal with 2 other teams other than the Lions and the Cowboys. Man,
the Lions, that's the only. They don't have a single game on primetime. That's all they have. Let them have their moment, man. Come on. Don't be a hater.
Whatever.
No, don't be a hater, dude. Let the Lions have the Thanksgiving. Everybody's too busy eating to even watch the game anyways. Come on.
And Christmas Day, you got Packers, Dolphins, Broncos, Rams, Bucks, Cardinals. That's Christmas Day. That is Week 16.
Yeah, so the NBA is probably going to be upset because all of a sudden Christmas lands on a Sunday this year, so there's not a lot the NFL can do. But last season, I think the NFL just kind of stepped on the NBA's turf. And if I was the NBA, I'd be all super pissed off. I'd be so mad.
Like this year, there's nothing. Everybody plays.
Yeah, but Christmas.
I'll take that back. Not everybody, right? Like,
there's a Thursday night game, and then there's going to be a Monday night game.
No, there's a Thursday night game, and then a bulk of the games are Saturday, Christmas Eve. Right? So Bills in Chicago, that's Saturday. Like Bills, Bears, Saints, Browns, Texans, Titans, Seahawks, Chiefs, Giants, Vikings, Bengals, Patriots, Lions, Panthers, Falcons, Ravens, Washington, 49ers, Eagles, Cowboys, Raiders, Steelers. That's all Saturday.
Wow. I wonder if the NBA was like, hey, I know Christmas is on a Sunday this year, but if you could like move some of your games to Saturday so you don't step on our toes all the time. Because I was if I was the NBA last season, they also they just threw a bunch of games on Christmas Day, even though it's the NBA's day. Like, you know.
And the Saturday night game, Raiders Steelers, that's on NFL Network.
Which means I won't be able to watch it.
So, it's a big deal, right? But I think one of the things that the NBA can also like hang their hat on is none of these games are gonna be on networks we play on, right? Most of the NBA Christmas games are ABC, ESPN
or TNT.
This is Fox, CBS, and NBC.
Yep. But that's been our 2022 breakdown of the NFL schedule. We're going to be starting our season preview series here soon. We break down every single team, go through their schedule, go through their storylines, talk about some of the moves they made this offseason. That's coming here in the next couple coming weeks. We're going to probably start that next week. But tomorrow, if you tune in for Prime Sports World, we are going to be previewing the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals and talk about why each team has a potential chance to be playing for the Larry O'Brien Trophy this season. TJ.
That was my idea, by the way. I just wanted to,
It was a solid idea. I enjoyed it. But yeah, we're going to be previewing all those series. We got the Golden State Warriors going up against the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference. And then we got Boston Celtics going up against the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference. Both of these matchups are matchups that I think are intriguing, and both matchups I think have a lot of interesting dynamics and elements to it. We're going to break that all down for you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the content. I've been David Huffman. Check us out at all the places on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. We go consistently live 5 or 6 times a week, bringing the most up-to-date content. You all right? You all right?
The Suns was down by 46 to...
Yeah, I know. Are you all right? You're going to be okay? Oh, yeah, they were. And Matt James, I apologize. I'm sorry.
Bro, can you imagine being a Suns fan, talking all the trash in the world for 82 games to not even get to the Western Conference Finals? That's the equivalent of going 15-1, 16-1, and losing in a divisional round. That's the equivalent of that. That's the NFL equivalent to that. Imagine your favorite NFL team goes 16-1. 15-2, and they lose in the divisional.
Not only that, not only do they lose the divisional, they lose by like 80 points in the divisional.
Like imagine you get 45 skunked in your divisional after going 16-1.
And at home. And your fans have to just stay like man, during the telecast, like literally there was not no cheer, there was nothing. Like
it was like the loudest people in the game in the arena was the Mavs bench.
Yeah.
That's how you bro. Okay, I'm sorry.
And there was at one point where like somebody on the Mavericks shot an air ball, and normally when you shoot an air ball, somebody says air ball. Nobody said a word.
Nobody said a word. They were just defeated.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, we're gonna be breaking down Phoenix Suns off season in a couple days as well. But yeah, I've been David Huffman right there. It's Mr. TJ Hopkins. And TJ, what do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, and Phoenix I want to turn that heat down because it ain't like it's 110 degrees and like y'all team ain't playing basketball no more. Stay home, stay cool. Go to a pool.
Stay safe. And Matt James, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry, man. Just it happens. Your team doesn't win all the time. It's gonna be okay. We love you. We love you anyways, buddy. We'll talk to you later. Everybody, we'll see you guys all back here tomorrow. Y'all have a good rest of your day and be safe out there.
See you, man.
Peace, bro.